Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today's exploration is around selective editing. And I'm not talking about a book or something else we might edit, but I'm talking about the selective editing that goes on all day, every day, whether we like it or not. And quite often in these talks, I am pointing to things that are happening in life, whether we like it or not. They are like gravity. They are the facts of how human beings work all the time. Now, for some of those things, a bit like gravity, there's nothing we can do about them. That they're going to happen, whether we know they're happening, whether we want them to happen. But just knowing that they are can be unbelievably helpful. So the selective editing I'm talking about today is how we create our experience of life. And I'm going to start with some quite big numbers, really, that you may or may not be aware that there are 11 million bits of information trying to get into your awareness every single second. Yes, I said second. Every single second, 11 million bits of information are trying to get into your awareness, or just there available to be into your awareness. I'm not sure bits of information actually try to get into your awareness, but they're available in your awareness. And you can only be consciously aware of 50. So just to have a moment with those figures, 11 million to 50. That means you're cutting out nearly 11 million bits of information, aren't you? Because it's just shy of that. There's only 50 that you're actually taking on board. And that is mind-blowing in those figures, isn't it? Because it just allows us to realize that there's a lot of life that we are not actually seeing, that we're not hearing, that we're not feeling, that is just not in our awareness at all, despite the fact that it is definitely going on. And that is why, interesting things that happen in the world where you may have come across this is, you watch these programs about crime, things like Crime Watch, and when they ask the witnesses, even when there's been quite a lot of witnesses to a particular incident, they will give very different recounts of what actually happened, even to the point of having, saying the person's hair, the criminal's hair was a different colour, or they were wearing different coloured clothes or different style of clothes, or they were a different age, and it's because we are always filtering through our filters, not through everybody else's. So we're all having a completely unique experience of the world. And that can help us a little bit in seeing that in terms of other people, because other people can look really strange, can't they? I don't know if you've noticed. They seem to do strange things and they have strange behaviours, and it's because they're filtering through a different set of filters to you. Now, those filters are operating all the time, as I say, whether you want them to be there or not. And they do affect how we see the world. So where you may think that you're in a particular circumstance and you are seeing it, truly seeing it as the truth, it is helpful to know that there could be a different way of seeing the situation. In fact, there definitely is. It's not could be, it's a fact that there are probably millions of different ways of seeing a situation that's different to how you might be seeing it. Now, one of my funny examples of this is in our other halves. I think the people that we live with, whether that's a partner or children or whoever, we really do start to develop some quite solid beliefs about those people, how they are, who they are, how they behave, what we like and don't like about them. What, particularly if there's something that niggles us about somebody in our lives, that often is our other half, isn't it? Then then that can become a belief about that person. So and so does such and such. And my fun example is is emptying the bins. In this house, that's the man's job. That's just a comedy comment rather than a sexual equality one, by the way. But it is, it's generally him that does it. But let's just imagine if I decided he'd got a bit rubbish at emptying the bins, he'd got a bit slack, and I really started to think, oh, he's really gone off with emptying the bins. That's really annoying. And amusingly, that definitely happened with my ex-husband, by the way. That his job was to empty the bins, and he didn't keep up with it. Well, I didn't think he did. Maybe he did. But if we believe our other half doesn't empty the bins, I pretty much guarantee the bins will be noticed by us when they are full, and they will very, very rarely be noticed when they are empty. Because because our heads just cannot cope with all the information, we've got like boxes. There's a belief, my other half doesn't empty the bins, so so I need to just keep that has to be keep that in place. So I'm just going to notice when the bins are full, not when they're empty. When they're overflowing, I'm going to notice them even more, of course, because that really does feed into that belief that I have. But another place where this is really, really pervasive and where I've started to really notice it, or noticed it a lot recently in myself, was those beliefs we have about ourselves. So if I believe I'm not confident or I'm not resilient or I'm not whatever knots we have about ourselves, we all have some I'm not this about ourselves, don't we? Then I will notice feelings and thoughts that really do enhance that, reinforce it, rather than noticing when I am confident. Let's just take confidence an example. If you don't believe you're confident, then you might notice that just before doing something like giving a talk or going for a meeting with your boss or whatever else, you will notice everything that is pointing to your lack of confidence. You will notice the thoughts that tell you you're not going to be okay. You'll notice the feelings that come up. You might notice some anxiety around that situation, and you will take all that information and pop it in the box marked, I'm not confident. You won't perhaps really kind of fall into the place or enhance that moment when actually you do get up and do the talk. You do go into your boss and demand a pay rise or whatever it is. You'll kind of just scoot past that. You'll be much more focused on the feelings and the thoughts that are pointing to your lack of confidence, because that is a belief you have about yourself. And it doesn't really matter where you picked up that belief. It's just knowing that that is how you are processing life all day, every day, unavoidably. It's a bit like, I mentioned this before, but it's a bit like gravity. It's happening, like it or not. The truth is, you are always selectively editing through the filters of your thinking, particularly your habitual thinking, in brackets, beliefs. And you can't really stop doing that because it's just happening. But when you start to be aware and this is the power of this conversation, is when you start to be aware of the possibility, or the fact actually, that you are always filtering through thought, through your beliefs, and that is how you're experiencing life. When you start to bring some awareness to that, it just starts to, I don't know, blur the edges or melt away the surface of it, because you're starting to see that that's what's actually happening. And it is every time you are aware of something, it does just start to chip away at it a little bit. And there is power always in just keeping on looking in this direction, just staying open and curious, and having that kind of overview, where could it be in my life, asking yourself, where could it be in my life that I am filtering my experience of another person or myself or a circumstance? It's always happening, but when you start to just get curious about where and how and what it is you're filtering, you can really start to peel off the layers of that. And it can actually be a really fun exploration. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.